Oh man, it's beautiful. You know, we back at you, man, with some more content first thing in the morning. Where the people at, man? Tap on in for this wonderful show. I had to switch up the timing, man, but we back, giving you the hard hitting facts. Ah, where my people at? Tell them no. When it comes to the blacks getting reparations, tell them no. When it comes to the African Americans, the blacks getting reparations, tell them no. Tell them no. Tell them no. Nobody deserves reparations until the Mexicans get ours first. Nobody, eh? The Mexicans got to get ours first. The raza, when it comes to the blacks getting reparations, the raza needs to march. I'm talking heavy protests. Tell them no. Tell them no. What's going on, man? Shout out to all my people out there, man. This if you're rocking with us, you in the chat, you already knowing what it is. True warrior scholar. Ambitions is a rider. The truth. What's crack a lacking, man? It is what it is. Right now, man, we're gonna give you some Black history of Los Angeles, and we're gonna bring people up to speed, true indeed, about all the things we did. It's unfair to give reparations to a specific group. It's unfair. When it comes to the blacks getting reparations, tell them no. Tell them no. This is live stream, man. This ain't a rerun, man. We live, direct, and full effect. Microphone check. Where you at, man? Tap on in. Bless that like button, man. You know it ain't nothing. Tell them no. No. Tell them no. So let's get it in, man. Right here, man. We're gonna talk about Los Angeles, California. This Los Angeles, you know, the Los Angeles history, the big black population, and yeah, man. So get on up in here, man. he, he said he was big mad at you mocking his accent, huh? Hit the like button, man. It ain't nothing. How he gonna be mad at me mocking his attitude when he say he gonna get the La Raza to march against our reparation? I'm gonna get the Raza to march. I mean, heavy protests. It's not fair to give blacks reparations. Tell them no. Anyway. Shout out to my people. Look, man, we ain't gonna waste no time with this one, man. We're gonna dive right into the conversation this morning. Let's get it. Where my people at? Fish eye fool. What it do? Cloud walking, man.
Sacred ground. In Mac 10, everyone knew Inglewood was his. This wasn't just rap culture. Are cruising down Crenshaw.
I gotta give bro his props real quick, man. So I gotta give shout out to Scope News, man. Scope News did a good job of breaking a lot of this history down. So I want to give my props and shout out to Scope News for putting this classic video together. Now, Red Supreme is giving my reaction to it. Let's get it.
DJ Quick is on the radio. Snoop Dogg reps Long Beach like it's sacred ground. In Mac 10, everyone knew Inglewood was his. This wasn't just rap culture. It was a mirror of real life. Compton, Inglewood, Watts, South Central, they weren't just zip codes. They were black hubs of culture, power, and survival. These cities were shaped by the children and grandchildren of the Great Migration, families that had escaped the terror of the Jim Crow South from places like Louisiana and Texas, relocated west in search of something better. They came to Oakland, Los Angeles, Richmond, Long Beach, and they built. Today, Scope News presents the story California doesn't want to tell, the quiet erasure.
The quiet erasure of black culture. The quiet erasure of black culture in the city of Los Angeles. Shout out to Scope News. Make sure that you subscribe to Scope News, man.
Of its black legacy. This isn't about nostalgia. This is about what happens when a people are used to build cities, shape culture, and then get pushed out in silence. In LA, black people found work in shipyards, airplane plants, and the railroads. In Oakland, they helped run the ports, fix the engines, and raise the city's cultural pulse. West Oakland had Southern Baptist churches that echoed with Texas choirs. East Oakland smelled like gumbo and smoked ribs. People brought their traditions with them, and Black California began to rise. Like Lady Esther's Soul Food Restaurant that used to be located on East 14th Street and 53rd Avenue that opened in 1968. A native of Louisiana, Esther Clay founded this restaurant, which served East Oakland for decades. Locals said that the food was some of the best soul food that they had ever had. Inglewood, Crenshaw, and Compton were extensions of the South, but with palm trees and promise. But now, walk into—
Yeah, man, we just breaking down some of this LA history, some, LA's black history. So tap on in.
those same neighborhoods and something feels off. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, once a place built for and by black folks, is now run by a Mexican woman who is also the COO. Most of the staff cooking the food aren't black. That's not just a staffing change, it's a symbol. Because when the ownership, the narrative, and the profit leaves the hands of the people who created it, that's not cultural growth. That's cultural displacement. Compton is now nearly 70% Latino. Inglewood is majority Latino too. Long Beach has seen its black population steadily fall. And the cultural anchors, the barbershops, churches—
See, that's what happens when you have millions of illegals crossing the border every day and having babies, and they place these people in our communities. See, it'd be one thing if they sent all these illegals to East LA, Boyle Heights, and things like that. But like, man, in the 80s, man, they started, them illegal immigrants was just popping up everywhere. They was popping up out of nowhere, just having baby after baby. That's how Compton became, what it is today. All of these illegals, crossing the border every day, you know what I mean? So most of your black areas in Los Angeles looks like Mexico. The majority of them. I mean, you still got a few black strongholds here and there, but for the most part, most of these black communities are gone. They're not putting African immigrants in black communities. They're not putting European immigrants in black communities. They were dumping Mexican and Latino immigrants in black communities all over Los Angeles.
Food spots, bookstores, now nearly 70% no. Inglewood, most of the staff cooking the food aren't black. That's not just a staffing change, it's a symbol. Because when the ownership, the narrative, and the profit leaves the hands of the people who created it, that's not cultural growth. That's cultural displacement. Compton is now nearly 70% Latino. Inglewood is majority Latino too. Long Beach has seen its black population steadily fall. And the cultural anchors, the barbershops, churches, food spots, bookstores, have been replaced, relocated, or erased. It's not just Latino growth. Asians now make up a massive and growing demographic in Southern California. Places like Monterey Park, Cerritos, Diamond Bar, and entire areas of the San Gabriel Valley have become cultural powerhouses, complete with political influence, real estate ownership, and elite education systems. And still, no one asks, how did these newer communities get the support to thrive, while foundational black communities were left to rot?
Right. The government gave immigrants resources. I did the video yesterday. Man, do you know a lot of these immigrants got housing, medical, dental? California spent billions funding illegals, and they use our tax dollars to do it, right? Everybody, not just black people, they use everybody's tax dollars in Los Angeles to fund these illegals. And it is what it is. So, and this is what you see. You see a lot of this in LA. Like dude on the ground right there. You go downtown LA, it's sad. It looks like something out of a horror movie. Just homeless people everywhere, drug addicts, people laying on the ground. Crazy.
One asks, how did these newer communities get the support to thrive, while foundational black communities were left to rot? We can't ignore immigration either. Since the 1980s, California has received a constant wave of both legal and undocumented immigrants from Mexico and Central America. Many ended up in black neighborhoods, not by accident, but because those were the communities starved of investment and ripe for resettlement. Landlords saw new tenants, politicians saw new voters, developers saw profit, and black families, especially those who owned homes and businesses, found themselves boxed in, priced out, or pushed out. Jobs were disappearing, schools were failing, and rent? It was climbing faster than wages. Real estate developers swept through with buyout offers. Then came the gentrification. Trendy cafes, construction zones, shiny new stadiums, and rental prices that left no room for the original community. SoFi Stadium in Inglewood is a perfect example. A billion-dollar attraction built on the bones of a black neighborhood. Now let's talk about who's leading the city and whether they're truly representing the people.
And see, once Latinos moved in and they became the managers of these apartment buildings, all they would do is bring in Latinos. Same thing at the construction site, same thing at these warehouses. When Latinos got their numbers up, they only looked out for their people. So a lot of black people wasn't moving in these apartments, they was only moving in illegals. A lot of these jobs were, they were just hiring Latinos because they work under the table. They work for cheap labor. So eventually that started to push black people out because it's like, okay, there's not enough jobs over here where we can work and make money. And the rent is going up every year. A lot of these schools are like majority Latino now. You got a lot of kids coming from Mexico and Central and South America. They don't speak English. So now you got to hire Latino teachers to speak Spanish to these children who can't speak English. So it became a conflict of interest. And this is why a lot of your black people left Los Angeles, because they didn't see the future in staying there, and rightfully so.
Built it. Karen Bass made headlines as the first African-American woman lead example. A billion-dollar attraction built on the bones of a black neighborhood. Now let's talk about who's leading the city and whether they're truly representing the people who built it. Karen Bass made headlines as the first African-American woman to lead a state legislative body in the U.S. and is now the mayor of Los Angeles. But in 2018, she posted a picture of her grandfather, Salvador, describing him as a dreamer before the term existed. He came from Mexico, fought in World War II, received full GI Bill benefits, and built a business. It's a proud story, but you rarely see it in her campaign speeches or public branding. Bass doesn't often highlight her Latino roots in political forums. Instead, she centers herself squarely in the black community, presenting as a foundational black leader from South LA, and that raises hard questions. If her Mexican heritage is real and personal, why isn't it more present when she campaigns? And if she owes her political rise to black communities, black churches, black voters, black movements, why do her policies so often prioritize other groups? Like her recent plan to offer prepaid debit cards to undocumented immigrants. All while black homelessness in LA is at crisis levels. Who exactly is being served here? It's the same pattern we saw with Vice President Kamala Harris. Born to a Jamaican father and an Indian mother, Harris is not descended from U.S. chattel slavery. But during her presidential run, she embraced Black American culture, dancing with HBCU bands, quoting,
I need you guys to bless the like button, man. If you're watching this show, make sure that you bless the like button already.
Civil rights leaders, and calling herself part of the African American struggle. And yet, once elected, she focused on immigration, Asian hate crime legislation, and international relations.
Yeah.
While foundational black communities
See, this is why we would have been crazy for voting for Kamala. I want you to hear what happened. And I broke this down a lot of times. I broke this down several times, man. But when Kamala became vice president, all she did was help immigrants, gave Asians a hate crime bill. I mean, she did nothing. You know, how foolish would we be to vote for somebody like that? Now, you might say, well, Donald Trump is white, but yes, Donald Trump is against illegal immigration. At least Donald Trump is going to remove a lot of those immigrants that's coming to your community. Kamala wasn't going to do anything beneficial for the FBA community, nothing. So I don't see how our people could be so foolish to even vote for that woman. Asians got a hate crime bill. Immigrants got money. The borders is wide open for them. They're flooding our communities with these illegals. I mean, damn. What else do you need to see?
Present when she campaigns. And if she owes her political rise to black communities, black churches, black voters, black movements, why do her policies so often prioritize other groups? Like her recent plan to offer prepaid debit cards to undocumented immigrants. All while black homelessness in LA is at crisis levels. Who exactly is being served here? It's the same pattern we saw with Vice President Kamala Harris. Born to a Jamaican father and an Indian mother, Harris is not descended from U.S. chattel slavery. But during her presidential run, she embraced Black American culture, dancing with HBCU bands, quoting civil rights leaders, and calling herself part of the African American struggle. And yet, once elected, she focused on immigration, Asian hate crime legislation, and international relations. While foundational black communities continued to wait for even basic acknowledgement, let alone reparations or reinvestment. This is what many now call identity extraction, the political borrowing of black identity, struggle, and symbolism to win votes and build brand recognition. Newer terms that may...
When Mexicans say this was California, listen, homie. California was Mexico for 27 years. Mexicans did not develop California. They didn't. Cali was under Mexico's rule for 27 years. They didn't build California. The only reason that California is what it is because of the United States of America. If California was still under Mexico's rule, none of these Mexicans would want to live there. They would be fleeing by the millions if Cali was still under Mexico's rule. And that's just a fact right there. The only reason why they're talking about Cali because America made California great. Nobody would want to live in Mexico if it was still under Nobody would want to live in California if it was still under Mexico's rule.
Fit are ones like Grifter or Tether. But once power is secured, the loyalty of the black voter is left unrewarded. The policy promises go silent, and the focus shifts to everyone but the people who made the victory possible. Meanwhile, Black California is disappearing. South Central has been renamed. South LA schools are now majority Spanish-speaking. The culture, gentrified. The history, ignored. The elders, displaced. Crenshaw is full of construction signs. West Oakland looks like a tech campus. And the kids of the Great Migration, the sons and daughters of Louisiana and Texas, are gone. Even Roscoe's, once the meeting place for legends, feels different now. It's still serving chicken and waffles, but the soul behind it, the people, the music, the stories, is fading fast. Remember Boys and the Hood? John Singleton.
Right, it's a foolish argument. Cali was Mexico at one point in time. Yeah, and if it was Mexico, you wouldn't want to live there. You would be fleeing by the millions. Seriously.
Made that film to capture the reality of South LA. It was raw. It was painful. It was real. That world is almost gone now. You can walk those same streets today and not recognize a single building.
Shout out to Ryder Prophet for blessing the Cash App. I appreciate you, Ryder Prophet. Where are my people from Red Supreme TV1 who used to support this content? A lot of you guys, I don't see you no more. You know what I'm saying? It's like we got a lot of most of the people who support the platform are new people. You know what I'm saying? These are like new supporters. Where my loan timers at? Where the people that's been rocking? Pop on up, show some of that love, and tap in with your boy.
And Mac 10, even he would probably struggle to find his old neighborhood. From 2000 to 2020, over 100,000 black residents left Los Angeles County.
You heard that? Look how many black people left. And it's more than that, man. I want y'all to hear, I want you guys to listen to how many blacks have left Los Angeles and Los Angeles County in general, man. I mean, tons of blacks that's packed up and left. They like, man, come on, man.
It was raw. It was painful. It was real. That world is almost gone now. You can walk those same streets today and not recognize a single building. And Mac 10, even he would probably struggle to find his old neighborhood. From 2000 to 2020, over 100,000 black residents left Los Angeles County. Some went to the Inland Empire. Some left the state. Others just disappeared into poverty, displacement, or silence. This isn't migration, it's removal. Quiet, unspoken, strategic.
This is removal. Listen, man, a lot of communities that were in, a lot of Los Angeles communities that were predominant, these were like predominant black communities. Look at Compton. Compton is 70% Latino. But see, I told you, there's a border. California has the Mexican border connected to it. And when you think about the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship, they've been abusing that, man. These the Mexicans have abused the 14th Amendment, right? Like, oh, all I got to do is come to America and have a baby and my child is a citizen. It don't matter if I came illegally. They took full advantage of that and dumped millions of anchor babies all over Cali. That is why Compton is 70% Latino now because of that. They get civil rights when they come here and they have anchor babies for birthright citizenship. So, and then when you look at that, all these jobs are going to Latinos. So the black people just left. They like, man, it costs too much. The cost of living is going up. A lot of these jobs, the Latinos are gatekeeping these jobs. Listen, man, back in the 70s and 80s, you would see black teenagers working at McDonald's, working at Wendy's, working at Burger King and things like that, right? But once the 90s got here, all you seen was Mexicans working in fast food restaurants. Black teenagers can't even get a summer job because most of these jobs are occupied by Latinos. And when Latinos get these positions, they gatekeep these positions and only hire their people. So it was a complete flip. I don't think black people seen it coming because California is the testing ground. Once it works in Cali, then they spread it. Then they spread it throughout the country. Once it works in Cali, and it is what it is. But yeah, if you go to a lot of these warehouse jobs, all you're gonna see is Mexicans. Now, when they try to tell you all blacks are lazy, no, blacks, there's at one particular time, blacks dominated a lot of these jobs, right? And blacks are not like that. They'll hire Mexicans. Like if you go to soul food restaurants now, black people hire Mexicans to work at soul food restaurants, but Mexicans don't hire black people to work at Mexican restaurants. So that's something for you to think about. We open our arms and welcome them while they close the doors on us. And that's been going on for decades in Cali.
Removal. Walk those same streets today and not recognize a single building. And Mac 10, even he would probably struggle to find his old neighborhood. From 2000 to 2020, over 100,000 black residents left Los Angeles County. Some went to the Inland Empire. Some left the state. Others just disappeared into poverty, displacement, or silence. This isn't migration, it's removal. Quiet, unspoken, strategic removal. The question isn't just where did they go? The real question is who will be next? Scope News tells the truth. And here are the facts. U.S. Census Bureau data confirms the sharp decline in black residents across Los Angeles, Compton, Inglewood, Long Beach, Oakland, and San Francisco. The Urban Displacement Project, Pew Research Center, and UCLA Luskin School of Public Affairs have extensively documented demographic shifts, immigration patterns, and the effects of housing policies on black Californians. Karen Bass's Facebook post about her Mexican grandfather is public record. The GI Bill disparity for
Now you understand why Karen Bass does nothing for FBA now. She used the fact that she was black to get black people to vote for her. But once she got in office, she only does things for Mexicans and Latinos. This is why she capes for immigrants so hard, because her grandfather was a Mexican. Karen Bass has no loyalty to FBA. Her loyalty is to the Mexican Latino community, 100%. So they use blackness to get votes. But once they get in office, they do the complete opposite. Kamala Harris the same way. I'm gonna use black people to get votes, but I'm gonna create more opportunities and give money to illegals. So Karen Bass is no different than Skamala Harris. Skamala Harris and Karen Bass is one and the same. They'll pretend to be black when it's beneficial, but you know, when everything hits the fans, they're only gonna look out for the immigrant communities.
Black WE2's veterans is backed by the Department of Veterans Affairs and major civil rights history texts. Reporting on Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles confirms management changes and demographic shifts. Kamala Harris's heritage and policy focus are supported by public campaign footage and federal legislation tracking. Historic migration patterns from Texas and Louisiana to California are preserved in the Schomburg Center, the California African American Museum, and multiple
Not 2,000. Black people need 200,000. We need 200,000 black people in Los Angeles to add to that population. Because right now, Los Angeles got about like 400,000 blacks, somewhere around there. So yeah, man, you know, it is what it is.
The archives. Special thanks to the Watts Labor Community Action Committee, the East Bay Black Cultural Archives, and oral histories recorded through StoryCorps and CAM. Legal disclaimer. This Scope News report is intended solely for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. It is based on verified public records, historical research.
All right, let's go to the next clip. Shout out to Scope News, man.
Well, the Golden State is the gold standard in a lot of things. Rampant crime, homelessness, skyrocketing cost of living, and a governor determined to stick it to the president. Well, the Golden State is the gold standard in a lot of things. Rampant crime, homelessness, skyrocketing cost of living, and a governor determined to stick it to the president however he can. They're now also the gold standard in unemployment.
Year is 1958, and my grandmother had a tough decision to make.
Shout out to O'Shea to Duke Jackson, man. That's my bro.
Should she stay in Robeline, Louisiana, or should she leave? She was recently divorced and had 5 kids. So she decided the best thing for her future was to move to Los Angeles. Now, in her case, it wasn't such a bad decision because one of her sisters had already made the move. She felt confident that her and her family could basically move in and resettle. And Los Angeles provided a lot of opportunities for the Negro at that time, or Black Americans as we call them today. Number one, Los Angeles had a growing industrial base, just like many cities across the nation, but particularly Los Angeles, as well as shipyards, even in Oakland. Many people got jobs during that time in Oakland as well. These jobs beat the agricultural or tenant farmer jobs that most of our ancestors had in that time. 2, no more Jim Crow or racial segregation, although they would also meet that.
Oh, there was still racial segregation in Cali. You know, it's like a lot of our people wanted to escape the South. My parents left Alabama for California. So even my parents told me about the redlining and a lot of, you know, racial discrimination that was going on in Cali. It's just that, you know, leaving Alabama and moving to Cali was considered a step up during that time. Make sure that you guys bless the like button, support the show.
3, most people came to California because of the military base, right? If you know anything about Sacramento, there was Lockheed in LA, Douglas Aircraft, shipbuilding, obviously the weather. But then you had newspapers that talked about all of the opportunities that were in the Midwest or out West. Publications like the Chicago Defender. But then the California Eagle, which was founded in 1879, and it was very influential for African-American migrants considering California. And obviously, we know what happened with the redlining and many blacks coming to California and setting up shop. But we saw the building
Yeah, man. And shout out to O'Shea for breaking down a lot of this history.
of black communities like East Oakland, West Oakland, Leimert Park, South Central, Compton, then of course San Francisco, with neighborhoods like Fillmore, Hunters Point, and of course Lakeview. But in the last 20 to 30 years, something is going on in California.
But the real problem is too much regulation, and taxes are just too darn high in California. That's what's driving companies out. And it's also the quality of life. My goodness. I mean, you have all of this homelessness in San Francisco and Los Angeles and crime to worry about, influx of illegal aliens. I've had enough of this. So people. You have all of this homelessness in San Francisco and Los Angeles and crime to worry about, influx of illegal aliens. I've had enough of this. So people are leaving, businesses are leaving, primarily taxes being way too high, the cost of living's too high, real estate's too high, in large part because of regulations. Good luck.
As you've heard, the gentleman is making some really good points. Taxes, homelessness, crime, migrant influx, a lot of the businesses, and cost of living are pushing people outside of California, not just black people. But wait, there's more.
This house, that'll cost you $9,000 a month.
California's population is going down. Last year, 275,000 people left. That's equivalent to half the population of Wyoming.
Now,
Look at all the people who left. Look at the numbers. San Francisco had a thriving black community. San Francisco lost a big chunk of their black population, just like Los Angeles and, many parts of Oakland.
but wait, there's more.
This house, that'll cost you $9,000 a month.
California's population is going down. Last year, 275,000 people left. That's equivalent to half the population of Wyoming.
Now, those prices are ridiculous in Southern California. Now, at the time that I was growing up in Sacramento, we would have people selling their houses, let's say, for example, in Oakland or Los Angeles, and moving to Sacramento where it was much cheaper, or moving to Fresno. This was an awesome strategy because they could take the money and profit from their old house in Oakland, go to Sacramento and buy cheaper, and it would still make about 95% or even 100% of their salary they made in the Bay Area or in Los Angeles. But now those things are starting to get worse. Not only are you able to just sell your house in Southern California and move up to Northern California as quickly as you used to be, because now the jobs are not paying what they used to pay. And again, the cost of goods and services are getting just extremely too high.
So think about it. The jobs ain't paying what they used to pay, and the cost of living is going up, and illegal immigrants are overpopulating communities. So it's not worth it to live there anymore. This is why a lot of black people left. I'm breaking it down. I know what I'm talking about. Imagine the cost of living going up, but the jobs that you work, they're paying less money, but the cost of living is going up. See, Mexicans, they don't mind living in a house. See, you're not going to have a bunch of adults living in an FBA house. Black people don't like to live with one another like that. So if you got 4 Mexican families in one house and everybody got jobs, that household is making a certain amount of money. That's because they got a lot of adults living in that house. If you got 4 adults in one household with a job, then you just look at all the money that they're bringing in. The cost of living and the fact that illegal immigrants are overpopulating, that is one of many reasons. Those are some of the main contributing factors to why FBA has left Los Angeles in large numbers and record-breaking numbers, man.
And that is a problem, quickly as you used to be, because now the jobs are not paying what they used to pay. And again, the cost of goods and services are getting just extremely too high. And that is a problem. But as you heard, California right now has 5.5% unemployment in the state. And who would you believe that would affect the most? You guessed it, the black community. We've already heard that black women have lost over 300,000 jobs. So if you look at that unemployment
So black women have lost over 300,000 jobs. That's because a lot of our sisters work government jobs, right? And they were the first ones to go once they started to lay people off. Yeah, true story.
gap, you must understand that black people are most likely affected the most, including black women. But there's something else also going on in the state.
Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, once a place.
Yeah, family, just watch the language in the chat. You know, I asked you guys to not use profanity because guess what, man? YouTube is changing, man. There's a lot of changes being made on YouTube, and a lot of people are going to get demonetized behind the things that are being said in the chat. So express yourself. Feel free to express yourself. Just please leave out the vulgar language. That's all. Use code words, and we all know what you're saying. That's it. Salute to the family. I appreciate you guys for pulling up and supporting my platform. I really appreciate you guys.
The most, including black women. But there's something else also going on in the state.
Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, once a place built for and by black folks, is now run by a Mexican woman who is also the COO. Most of the staff cooking the food aren't black. That's not just a staffing change, it's a symbol. Because when the ownership, the narrative, and the profit leaves the hands of the people who created it, that's not cultural growth. That's cultural displacement.
California has been home to a whole bunch of stuff that black Americans have created. Look at your legendary places like Leimert Park or Inglewood or establishments like Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. What has happened in California in many places is that now the Hispanics own Roscoe's, right?
Yeah, Hispanics own Roscoe's, right? A Mexican lady own Roscoe's. So you got Mexican cooks. It's not, the food ain't the same no more. You got a lot of black people who say, man, I'm not going to Roscoe's no more. You got Mexicans cooking the food. Man, I don't need to go there. No, imagine a Mexican going to their favorite restaurant and they get there. It ain't nothing but black people cooking that food. They ain't even going to want to go there no more. Right?
And now who do you have making the food there? Well, you have Hispanics cooking establishments like Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. What has happened in California in many places is that now the Hispanics own Roscoe's, right? And now who do you have making the food there? Well, you have Hispanics cooking the dishes. And this is just not what's going on in just LA. It was happening even in the 90s. There was a restaurant called Jimmy's, okay? And it's on Grand Avenue. If you guys know about Jimmy's, it was across from 3B's. Used to be Heights Hair Fashion. The York family used to own that. Mark York and his dad used to own it.
Jimmy's, man. This was Jimmy's Market. So, you know, this is real LA history right here, man, you know, and it continues to happen. And they say, oh, blacks are just complaining. No other community has been under attack like the black community, you know, as far as like redlining, removing people, taking jobs and opportunities away, flooding our communities with millions of illegals. No other community has faced what we have faced as foundational black Americans in Los Angeles. So a lot of people who are not from Los Angeles, they don't understand how this has happened. But when you study everything that I'm breaking down, it'll give you a better understanding of why California has lost a large part of their black population. We're just breaking these things down to give you guys a better understanding of what's going on. Hopefully you guys can learn from everything that happened in Cali so that you can gatekeep your communities in other states across the country.
3B's used to be Heights Hair Fashion. The York family used to. There was a restaurant called Jimmy's, okay? And it's on Grand Avenue. If you guys know about Jimmy's, it was across from 3B's. Used to be Heights Hair Fashion. The York family used to own that. Mark York and his dad used to own it. It was right by Allen Chapel, AME. Jimmy used to cook, you know, some really, really good soul food. Unfortunately, he passed. Once he passed, you had an Asian family that bought Jimmy's. But what they did was they didn't change the name. They just kept the menu. And so you had these Asians cooking black people soul food. And to be honest, it wasn't really that good. It wasn't as good as it was with Jimmy's. But people were.
See what happened to Jimmy? Jimmy passed away, then Asians get it. So you got Asians selling the soul food. Roscoe sell it to Mexicans. Now you got Mexicans cooking and selling us soul food at Roscoe's. Like, oh man, we got to get it together, man. Shout out to the FBA family, man, but we got to get this together. We don't want this to spread to other cities and other states across country. This is why I drop so much content on this, so that other states, black folks in other cities across the country can learn from the mistakes that was made in Cali. I don't want to see you guys make the same mistakes. I'm giving you the warning. I'm giving you the signs. Do not let history repeat itself. Don't do it. Let California be the blueprint so that this doesn't happen in your state. So that none of this happens in your city or your community. Let Cali be the blueprint.
Cooking black people soul food, and to be honest, it wasn't really that good. It wasn't as good as it was with Jimmy's, but people were just supporting and kept going, and that's a trend.
Louisiana Chicken in Baldwin Hills. If you go to the Louisiana Chicken on Rodeo in La Cienega, you got Asians cooking that food in there. True story. Asians are cooking the Louisiana fried chicken on Rodeo and La Cienega. That's on the borderline between Culver City and Baldwin Hills. You know, the other side of La Cienega is Culver City, and then east of La Cienega is Baldwin Hills. But that's the dividing line, La Cienega. But yeah, man, you got Asians up in there cooking Louisiana fried chicken, man. And I'm pretty sure you got other spots across Los Angeles. It's the same thing. You go in there, you got Asians cooking that stuff, bro.
That we see in the black community, that the black community owned businesses in the original soul of the businesses is now gone away. Now, it's one thing to blame the Hispanics or the Chinese for that, or even in Harlem, I've heard about Dominican barbershops coming to the black community.
Well, you got to look at it like this. If the black community, see, this is why a lot of people sell these businesses, right? And I'm gonna be real with you. Now, if you got a declining black population and business ain't that good because blacks don't have a lot of jobs and the black community has decreased, a lot of these people sell these businesses out of survival. They like, hold on, my business within the next 5 years, I'm gonna have to shut my business down because black people ain't spending enough money. A lot of black people have left the community, so I can't make money. So what end up happening is they sell these businesses out of survival. Because if you got a declining population and your business ain't thriving like it used to, because you don't have that many blacks who live in the community no more, and these Asians come over here and say, hey, man, we're going to give you $2 million. We want the business. Well, that's what happens. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate, but it's true. So a lot of black people sell these businesses out of survival. Now, some may sell it out of greed because they're just thinking about the money. They don't care about the longevity of the community. You got black people like that. But for the most part, blacks are selling these businesses out of survival. They like, man, our population is declining. Business ain't what it used to. You know what? I'm going to take this $2 million and move to Texas or move to Georgia. So unfortunately, that's been happening a lot in Cali, Los Angeles in particular, San Francisco, Oakland.
And taking over your historical black American barbershops. In the case of this.
Right. We can't set up no shop in Asian communities. We can't set up no shop in Mexican communities. But see, this is something that black people got to pay close attention to. They'll never let you sell food to Asians in their community. They're not going to do that. They're not going to spend their money with you. Well, we got to do the same and gatekeep our community. Stop allowing foreigners to put businesses in our communities. Stop doing it. We're the only people who spend money with foreigners in their communities. Asians don't spend money with foreigners in their community. We're the only community who does that because we're too welcoming and nice to everybody. Stop spending your money with non-black businesses in black communities. Stop doing it. That is hurting us. That has killed the black community in Los Angeles.
This is our fault, all right? If we're losing our businesses to outsiders, it's because we just didn't keep it up. It's something that we've always done. It's something that we can't blame anybody else but for ourselves, all right? We've done this a lot. It's happened in almost every black community, and other people are starting to realize it, and that's the case. And partly, that is our fault, right? We got to do better. But this next thing is interesting because California, we are pretty good at electing black leadership to represent us.
Yeah, but the black people we put in office do nothing for us. That's the point. It's like we're voting for these people because they're black, but they do absolutely nothing once they get in office. Karen Bass and many others. And it ain't just Cali.
It's like any other place. I'm a Californian myself. Look at Chicago. Chicago has who? Brandon Johnson as their mayor, all right? And so when you look at Brandon Johnson, he's black, he has a black wife. You elect Brandon Johnson as your mayor only because you believe that Brandon Johnson wants to be hated.
Shout out to the UBO for the Cash App. Shout out to Nikisha for the Cash App. Let's get 5 more contributors to bless the show. You know, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Oh, yeah.
In your best interest. Once he gets elected, however, something is different. This is the case with Karen Bass. Karen Bass definitely looks black American, all right, even though she was married to somebody that was a Latino. But when she wants to come out and vote, she appeals to the black American side of her identity.
Yeah, she got a Mexican husband and a Mexican grandfather. So her loyalty is to the Mexican community, not to FBAs. But she used FBA people to get votes. Karen Bass and Kamala Harris is one and the same. These are not our people. Stop voting for these individuals.
All right. But as it turns out, she has a Hispanic grandfather. But she will come out and she will basically show the world like, hey, I'm a black American. I'm the first black American female mayor of Los Angeles. But there's a problem.
Instead, she centers herself squarely in the black community, presenting as a foundational black leader from South LA. And that raises hard questions. If her Mexican heritage is real and personal, why isn't it more present when she campaigns? And if she owes her political rise to black communities, black churches, black voters, black movements, why do her policies so often prioritize other groups?
I want to give a shout out to Scope News.
I just used Scope News clip too, man. Shout out to Craig Harper for the super chat. Shout out to Deacon Weezo for the super chats that he been sending as well.
He has a video called "There Are Barely Any Black People Left in California," and he makes a strong point here that basically one of the reasons why blacks are declining is because the people that we select to represent us obviously don't have our backs. This is the case with a lot of black Democratic leadership all over the country. We see it in New York City.
Yeah, we see it in New York City. We see it in Chicago. We see it all over. We put these people in office because they're black, but when they get in office, they do nothing for the community whatsoever. They cater to these damn illegals. That is a fact.
We see it in Boston. We see it also in California. The people that we are looking to support us, they don't. Their interests are to other groups. So what happens is if you're a person and you're for immigrants or for the migrants and you're giving tax dollars to migrants, but you're basically saying is F you, the black Americans who are already at the bottom of society. This is another actual point. There's a brother named Web Rats on TikTok. He's a brother that left Maryland, okay? And he now lives in Panama.
This fool moved to Panama.
But he makes a very interesting point about living overseas.
Some people place that estimate as high as 69%. If you're African American in America, that estimate goes as high as 76%. So black Americans have less money than your average non-wealthy American. That means it costs more money for black people to live abroad. The reason why is because people see Americans as an opportunity to raise the prices usually. When they see Americans coming, that price could go from $50 to $100. Doesn't matter if you came to that country with $50,000 or $10,000. The price just went from $50 to $100 and you're paying that.
I want to bring up.
Yeah, they say you an American, you're going to pay. Oh, you're going to pay. You American, you got bread. You did.
The reason why this is important. Number one, although he's not from California, but he's talking about something that's interesting. If you live in America and you don't earn a lot of money, and black Americans typically don't earn as much as other groups, once gentrification comes into your neighborhood, or once things start to rise, your spending power evaporates.
Your spending power evaporates. That's a fact.
Okay. And California has a hell of a sales tax. So what costs you $50, it really hurts you if your income isn't going up, if taxes isn't going up, and all of the unaffordable things start happening around you. And that's exactly what happens in California. Okay. And so
Yeah.
what you found out is that it hurts them more than anybody else to stay afloat. And many people believe that the exodus of Black Americans is on purpose. And this is why you see,
Of course, it's done on purpose. This is no coincidence. This was done on purpose to get rid of the Black population in Los Angeles, and not just Los Angeles, the rest of California. Please believe that. This is no coincidence.
so many Black Californians going to certain places. Like one of the biggest places that a lot of Black Californians move to is Nevada, right? Especially brothers and sisters from LA. Brothers and sisters from LA moved to Nevada because there's like no state sales tax there. At a time, Nevada is very close in proximity to LA. Okay. Some Blacks from Northern California may move there. You find a lot of Blacks now in Arizona. I think Arizona is also very similar with the sales tax, right? So it's close. The weather is comparable. It's close enough to Cali. All right. Then you see Blacks moving to Texas. Okay. Texas is another one of those states.
Yeah, a lot of my family members didn't move to Texas. Shout out to Texas. Yeah.
Comparable, it's close enough to Cali. All right. Then you see Blacks moving to Texas. Okay. Texas is another one of those states that is, is huge, a lot of economic opportunity. You see that Florida, right? And then obviously the Georgia move to Atlanta. Let's go back to California. A lot of the jobs are leaving the state. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of jobs are leaving the state, man. Property taxes, business taxes on your businesses. So a lot of people, not just Black people, a lot of white tea people have left too. That is a fact. I've been paying attention to all that.
And so these jobs are going to places like Texas where it's cheaper to live. And then also you're making comparable money. So then what do? You're going to go there. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Black Americans are moving to the South. Look at how some of the states in the South are wanting to compete. Look at Mississippi. Mississippi just came out with, I believe, not too long ago, 0% state tax. All right. So Mississippi, who's already like one of the poorest states in the union, is saying, look, we're going to reduce state tax to 0. All right. Please come to Mississippi.
Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson for this video, my brother.
Develop Mississippi, create your opportunities in Mississippi. And so now the South is starting to compete for these Black Americans, if they're talented, to say, hey, come live your life down here where you can do so. And the reality is that because Blacks are just kind of being pushed out because of what's happening, and then with the immigration and the poor running of the state by Governor Newsom, it's sad, right? And the Black identity is pretty much left. Like when I was last back home, when I was growing up in the 90s in Del Paso Heights, it was a lot of Blacks in Del Paso Heights, right? And it still is, but it's not like that anymore. You see a lot of Hmongs, Asian people, a lot of Laos, a lot of Hispanics. When we sold our house, we sold it to not a Black person, a Hispanic person. You see Russians coming in.
Yeah, shout out to Sacramento, man. I was just in Sacktown, man. Shout out to Sacktown, the Bay Area and back down. Cali is with it. Put your Mac down. Show me love. Oh, yeah. That's that California love for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's crazy. The exodus is sad. And the thing is, it's eliminating part of our history and part of our culture. But a part of that was us not being prepared for it. And so now, places like North Carolina, which has a big banking industry, Blacks are going back down south. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Jackson back at it again.
Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson, man, for that video. Now I got another video coming at you guys right now. Make sure that you bless the like button. It ain't nothing. King Supreme, Red Supreme is all the same thing. Let's get it.
And singer, actress, and Broadway Sugar Hill, once home to LA's Black.
Now, this is where I'm from. This is my community right here. Sugar Hill, Los Angeles, right? The West Adams Mid-City District. and they're gonna break down some of this history, and you're gonna see how they built the 10 freeway through this thriving black community of Los Angeles. I grew up in Sugar Hill, man. Right?
Elite, before and after construction of the Santa Monica Freeway. Previously the wealthiest black neighborhood in Los Angeles, construction of the 10 cut Sugar Hill in half in the 1960s. Despite residents' protests, the highway took hundreds of homes with it.
Yeah, there was a protest, and this was the wealthiest black community. This was the wealthiest black community in Los Angeles. I went to 24th Street School, right? Right across the 10 freeway, right? You got the Adams over there, south of the 10 freeway. Then you got Washington, north of the 10 freeway. You know, I used to, Marvin Gaye lived on Gramercy, right over there by Gramercy and Washington, really in between, like on Gramercy, in between Washington and Adams on Gramercy. I used to walk past Marvin Gaye house all the time, but this is the 10 freeway, man.
Previously the well-black neighborhood in Los Angeles, construction of the 10 cut Sugar Hill in half in the 1960s. Despite residents' protests, the highway took hundreds of homes with it. Located to the west of downtown, on the border between Central and South Los Angeles, the area that became known as Sugar Hill is in the larger neighborhood of West Adams. West Adams is one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city of Los Angeles, with most of its buildings erected between 1880 and 1945. Prior to construction of the freeway, West Adams had been connected to downtown LA via the Los Angeles Railway streetcar system, an electric tram network operating on-street. Additionally, Pacific Electric Interurbans provided service across the region at large in a mix of private rights-of-way and street running. Sugar Hill was originally known as West Adams Heights. Prior to the 1940s,
Yeah, West Adams Heights. Like if you go on Washington, you're gonna still see those little statues or the little concrete block things, and it says West Adams Heights. So I grew up in West Adams Heights, West Adams, and all that, man. This is my community, and like I said, man, yeah, I know this to be true because I grew up over there.
black people were technically barred from living in the area due to the presence of restrictive covenants. A restrictive covenant was a clause written into the deed of a home which permitted it to be sold to, quote, members of the Caucasian race only. Despite these covenants, beginning in the 1910s, as upper-class whites began leaving West Adams for new developments on the west side and in Beverly Hills, a rising black upper class moved in defiance of the covenants.
That Golden State building is right there on Western. It's right there by Western and Adams, man. So yeah, man. I went to Mount Vernon and 24th Street School. Yeah.
Most prominent among these new residents were actors and performers, including Hattie McDaniel, the first black woman to win an Oscar, actress and community activist Louise Beavers, and singer, actress, and Broadway star Ethel Waters. McDaniel's house in particular became the social center of Sugar Hill. Her biographer writes, "The best of black show business performed within the walls of 2203 South Harvard. Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, Count Basie, and more." At this time, West Adams was popularly rechristened Sugar Hill in honor of the legendary neighborhood in Harlem. The larger West Adams area became a center of black wealth. In response to this ascendant black elite, in 1945, white residents sued to enforce the restrictive covenants and evict black families from Sugar Hill. Black residents fought back. McDaniel took a leading role in this fight, teaming with NAACP attorney Lauren Miller to organize the neighborhood's legal defense.
Yeah, man, this is what it is. There's a lot of history. And then Ray Charles studio was on Washington and Westmoreland right there. The RPM studios, if you look up Ray Charles and the RPM studios on Westmoreland right there in Washington, yeah, man, right by the 10 freeway on Washington. Yeah, homie. So this was, this community it has a lot of black history. Like if you go there now, there's a glimpse of it, but it's nothing like it used to be.
In opening arguments, the attorneys for the white plaintiffs insisted that the black West Adams residents were in violation of the law, that restrictive covenants were protected under the Constitution, and that the black property owners must be required to surrender their homes immediately. Loren Miller countered with what at the time was a shocking argument. He immediately moved to bar any testimony by or on behalf of the plaintiffs, arguing that restrictive covenants violated both the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, which mandated equal protection under the law, and the California State Constitution. In a landmark case, the court sided with McDaniel, Miller, and black residents, finding that the covenants did, in fact, violate the 14th Amendment. The victory wouldn't last. 15 years after residents won the right to remain in their homes, the California Highway Commission seized much of the neighborhood through eminent domain and demolished it for construction of the Santa Monica Freeway, I-10. Eric Avila, a historian and Chicano studies professor at UCLA, writes in the LA Times, "Black neighborhoods were considered to be blight. They were considered to be slums. The dominant perspective of the time was to eradicate blight, to get rid of the slums. The neighborhoods were simply wiped out without any efforts to remediate the damage."
And that neighborhood was not a slum, but that's the propaganda that they pushed in the media. They say, oh, these are undesirable communities, let's get rid of them. But in reality, these were thriving black communities. So they ran the freeway through that community to displace black people, to destroy black wealth. Because keep in mind, Sugar Hill was the wealthiest black community in Los Angeles. This is way before Baldwin Hills or any of that. This was the richest black community in the whole city. West Adams, Sugar Hill. That's a fact.
In the case of Sugar Hill, the word slum was used loosely. Across Southern California,
yeah, you got Loren Miller Park, man, SAG. You know, 2nd Avenue gangsters, man. You know, I know, man. Shit, you know, all the homeboys, man, over there, you know, Bloodhound, Ant Dog, you know what I mean? Baby Psycho Hound, you know what I'm saying? Chaos, Romeo, Shag, you know what I mean? The homeboy Shadow. Man, come on, man. Hey, man, this history runs deep, man. This is my community where I grew up at. But yeah, man, Loren Miller Park. You know what I mean? You know I know what to do, bro. Hey, man, if you're from this community, then you already know what it is, baby. Hit the like button, man, and support the show in a major way.
In the case of Sugar Hill, the word slum was used loosely. Across Southern California, freeways that paved over black and Latino neighborhoods were completed, such as the 5, 10, and 110, seen here. On the other hand, those proposed to cross whiter, more affluent areas were stopped. Highway builders often defended taking property in black neighborhoods by arguing that the land was cheapest there, a fact that relied on racist real estate practices and government-backed redlining policies that discouraged investment in black areas. In addition to the direct displacement of the communities in their paths, the freeways also facilitated neighborhood segregation. Created as walls to contain LA's growing black and Hispanic population from moving into the more desirable areas on the growing west side. The 10 cut Sugar Hill in half, taking many of the neighborhood's homes and mansions with it, and creating a wall across the community. What had once been a short walk between Hattie McDaniel's house and Ethel.
See this right here, like this a dead end street. Now this is like when you walk right here, you go to Western. It's a little pathway right here that leads to Western. And then when you walk out the Western, you make a left. You got 24th Street School and then Adams Boulevard right there. But if you like this right here, you walk this way, you know what I mean? You get straight to Western Avenue. But all of this, where they cut this freeway, they took out a gang of homes, like a big chunk of homes, right? And there's a church, like if you go left right there, there's a church. They filmed a lot of movies at this church right there. And then when you go on the other side of the freeway, there's another a black church, man. There's, you know, this been in a lot of movies and videos as well. So this community has a lot of history, man. I used to walk over here all the time going to school. You walk right here, it's like a little alley, little cutway right there, and then you make that left on Western, and 24th Street School is right there. You know, that's where I went to school at. Yeah, true story.
Waters was now over a mile. There's absolutely no question that it destroyed the neighborhood, says Cal State Northridge professor Josh Sides. Berkeley Square, one of the most wealthy sections of Sugar Hill, was leveled. One of the most wealthy sections of Sugar Hill,
See, this is the freeway right there. Look, I told you.
says Cal State.
When you walk through this little passway right here, then it's the overpass. You walk through this little section right, it's houses right there, but it's like a little alleyway. Not like it's kind of like an alley, but you cut right there, and you make a left and you go to that overpass, and then 24th Street School is like right there, and then Adams Boulevard is like right over there. But yeah, hit the like button.
Northridge professor Josh Sides. Berkeley Square, one of the most wealthy sections of Sugar Hill, was entirely leveled.
Where is Berkeley Square now? Well, right here. Or at least it was. Now, of course, you're looking at the middle of the Santa Monica Freeway.
This 10 freeway, which is, of course, a
Way. You're looking at here. Or at least it was. Now, of course, you're looking at the middle of the Santa Monica Freeway.
this 10 freeway, which is, of course, a major artery for Los Angeles now, would bisect and divide and essentially destroy what was, at the time, the most prosperous African-American community in Los Angeles, one of the most prosperous on the West Coast.
Dr. Ruth J. Temple was among those displaced by the freeway. Dr. Temple lived at 5 Berkeley Square and was among the first black women doctors in California. She was a leader in providing free and affordable health care to underserved communities in Los Angeles, establishing the Temple Health Institute in East Los Angeles. Dr. Perry Beal lived with his family at 7 Berkeley Square. Dr. Beal was one of the first black doctors in Houston, Texas. He moved to LA in mid-1952, where he continued to practice. Reverend Pearl Wood lived at 19 Berkeley Square. 19 Berkeley was a hotspot for events in the neighborhood, regularly hosting some of Sugar Hill's largest.
Yeah, those are the houses. Like, you had a lot of large Victorian homes like this in the West Island. I mean, you still got some of them left, but a lot of them got taken out. So these were thriving black communities. This was the richest black community in Los Angeles. Beautiful.
In mid-1957 Berkeley Square.
Marvin Gaye lived over here, man. You got Berkeley Square. Marvin Gaye lived right there on Gramercy. I used to walk past his house all the time going to school at 24th Street. So this is a beautiful black community. You know what I mean? Like, people have their lawns are manicured. You got nice cars sitting out there. The homes were beautiful. I'm telling you.
Dr. Beal was one of the first black doctors in Houston, Texas. He moved to LA in mid-1952, where he continued to practice. Reverend Pearl Wood lived at 19 Berkeley Square. 19 Berkeley was a hotspot for events in the neighborhood, regularly hosting some of Sugar Hill's largest gatherings.
You went to First AME on LaSalle? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm telling you, I know this is the neighborhood I grew up in, man. You know what I'm saying? This is my community for sure. First AME right there. LaSalle and Adams over there, yeah.
These are only some of the hundreds in Sugar Hill displaced by construction of the 10. In all, the highway would displace tens of thousands across the region. Shortly after construction of the freeway, the LA Sentinel wrote, "The road could have been built without cutting through Sugar Hill. However, in order to miss Sugar Hill, it was said that the route would have to cut through Fraternity and Sorority Row around USC. Fraternity Row still stands, and Sugar Hill does not, so you know who won out."
Right, man. So that's some brief history for you.
Welcome back. This Duke Ellington, Count Basie, performing at the house belonging to the first black woman to ever win an Oscar, Hattie McDaniel. Her home in a predominantly black neighborhood right in West Adams. They called it Sugar Hill. But for this neighborhood to be what it was, the people there had to fight, and their fight actually helped change our nation. Just a few miles west from the heart of Los Angeles lies a story of what once was the West Adams community of Sugar Hill.
naming it after Harlem Sugar Hill, 1920, because it was a sweet place to live.
Sugar Hill holds a special place in Ivan Houston's heart. It plays a big part in his family story. He says his grandfather, Norman Oliver Masson Houston, was the first black person ever to buy a home in the neighborhood around 80 years ago. Soon after, a number of prominent black business owners, doctors, lawyers, and famous actresses followed.
Hattie McDaniel moved in, Louise Beavers moved in, Dr. Frank Summerfield, who owned the Dunbar Hotel on Central, moved in. My wife's grandparents, Dr. Pyram Taylor and his wife, Pearl, moved in and lived across the street from my
Yeah, man. So I'm just giving you guys some history, man. I got another video after this, another clip.
grandfather. Ethel Waters moved in.
Their white neighbors weren't happy about this, and they felt like they had a right to be upset. Racist restrictions were embedded into property deeds here and all over the United States. These were clauses written into homeowners' deeds proclaiming if they sold the property, they wouldn't sell to black people.
Yep, West Adams Heights on Washington, right? I lived there.
Property, they wouldn't sell.
You still got the signs up. You still got them up. West Adams Heights, Washington Boulevard, and you cross the freeway. You got Adams. Yeah, man, this is the West Adams, district over here, baby. Also known as Sugar Hill.
To black people, keeping them all from the integration they didn't want.
My home right now in Silver Lake, built in 1926, it has that clause in its deed. But by then, when we bought it, it's unlawful now.
The white homeowners sued the black homeowners, claiming it was illegal for them to be there. In response, the black homeowners banded together, creating the West Adams Neighborhood Protective Association.
To talk about it, to hire a lawyer to do this. And they did. You see what the dues were?
Yeah.
$1.50, 50 cents. But it was enough.
Houston and his wife found a written record of all the members from 1943 through 1947. This small group helped overcome the injustice, but they had some big help from NAACP lawyer Loren Miller.
He was just that type of lawyer that would take this cause on because even he knew it was wrong.
Miller argued the racist covenants violated the 14th Amendment, which guaranteed his clients equal protection under the law. The judge agreed. Soon after that, black Americans were all over West Adams, even moving in an exclusive gated community in the middle of Sugar Hill, Berkeley Square.
From Western to about Gramercy was an area called Berkeley Square, and it had homes as big as Fremont Place, Hancock Park.
That's where Marvin Gaye lived at, on Gramercy right there. It was from Western to Gramercy, and it was called the Berkeley Square. Now, of course, West Adams is stretched all the way past Normandy, but when you get to Western, you got Manhattan Place, St. Andrews, then you got Gramercy. But yeah, man, them houses are huge, and if you go over there today, the houses are pretty huge, still to this day. But I'm saying, though, they wiped out a large portion of that community with the 10 freeway. That's a fact. Shout out to everybody, man. Make sure that you guys bless the like button and share the content.
It had homes as big as Place, Hancock Park. Probably in the 50s, and that's when African Americans could move into the neighborhood.
Where is Berkeley Square now? Well, right here. Or at least it was. Now, of course, you're looking at the middle of the Santa Monica Freeway.
This 10 freeway, which is, of course, a major artery just now, would bisect and divide and essentially destroy what was, at the time, the most prosperous African-American community in Los Angeles, one of the most prosperous on the West Coast.
Dr. Josh Sides is a professor of history at Cal State Northridge and the author of LA City Limits, a look at African-American Los Angeles from the Great Depression to the present. He says in the 1950s, residents pushed back against plans for the freeway, pleading with state government officials trying a second.
So you got Roosevelt right here, Ardmore, Kingsley, Harvard, Hobart, and then you got Western, but then you got Oxford too. There's a street called Oxford, but that's You got Oxford right there too. I think they forgot to put Oxford, but I used to stay on Hobart right there. I lived on Hobart. And then as a kid, we used to play football against the dudes on Harvard. But then you got Westmoreland too. Then you got Westmoreland. But this is on Washington though. Like on Washington, you got Westmoreland. And then after Westmoreland, you got Oxford. Then you got Western. Then you got Western Avenue right there. Yeah, man. Then you got LaSalle right there. You know, Normandy is like right here. You got Normandy over here where this arrow at. And then in between Normandy, you got Roosevelt, Ardmore, Kingsley, Harvard, you know, Hobart, all that.
Time to save their neighborhood. This time, they lost. Their fears realized.
There's absolutely no question that it destroyed the neighborhood. I mean, it fundamentally changed what this neighborhood was about. It had a negative effect on property values, particularly on that side. And it I think, killed what was once a really vibrant cultural thing.
Neighborhood now too. Berkeley Square homes were seized through eminent domain. Those families had to leave. For those who got to stay in their houses, the freeway brought longer walks to schools, noise, crime, and most importantly, health issues that perpetuate.
Yeah, because if you lived on Washington, you had to walk around and go to that little alley cutway and then come to Western Avenue, then walk across the overpass. So the freeway made longer walks to school. It did. Because you couldn't just go across. You had to go all the way around to get to the overpass. So the freeway, yeah, man, it took out a lot of, yeah, man, it did a lot of damage to that community for sure.
For generations.
For people who are living on the edge of the freeway or by the port, you know, they're exposed to all these toxins at a much greater rate. And so you see rates of asthma and cancer and things like that. It's a common problem. Sit down.
Ain't nobody now, ain't nobody.
Head low, relax, the river flows.
Families changed. History lost. Decades later, a story still not widely taught.
None of it was in class. Not one bit. In fact, I'm really thankful that this type of story is getting out there because it's so important.
So lucky that Ivan spoke to me. The Sugar Hill case actually helped lay the groundwork for the Supreme Court decision back in 1948, Shelley v. Kramer. At that point, that decision, the High Court struck down racially restrictive housing covenants on the grounds that they are unconstitutional, leading to, you know, me being able to live in the neighborhood I live in today. Lauren Miller argued that case also before the High Court with a man, Samada, that you are likely familiar with, Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah, man. So, yeah. That's what it is. So let's get into Biddy Mason, man. We're gonna get into Biddy Mason. And well, matter of fact, yeah, let's.
Black woman born and saved, quietly bought beneath it.
I want you to see how Biddy Mason owned a lot of land in Los Angeles, man. Hit the like button if you love the history. It is what it is.
Her name was Biddy Mason. She didn't ask for permission. She mastered freedom, money, and land. And the ripple of her choices still moves through this city today. Biddy Mason was born on August 15, 1818, in the American South. Enslaved from birth, she learned midwifery, herbal medicine, and the skills to deliver life under pressure. In the late 1840s, she was forced west, first to Utah, then to San Bernardino, California. California was a free state on paper, but enslavers tried to drag black people back into bondage anyway. In 1856, when her enslaver attempted to move the family to Texas, Biddy stood up. With help from free black Angelenos, especially the Owens family, and allies.
So you got Mexican cat try to tell me, oh, blacks only came to Los. No, we've been in California. You don't know your history. Blacks had a lot to do with the building of Los Angeles. And we're going to get into some of the founders of Los Angeles. And a lot of those were black people. That's for the next video. But shout out to Biddy Mason and how she changed Los Angeles forever. Shout out to that woman. A lot of you guys probably never heard of Biddy Mason, but do your research, study on it, look it up.
In the courts, she petitioned for her freedom. Judge Benjamin Hayes granted it. Biddy, her 3 children, and others walked out of court free. But freedom is a start, not a strategy. Biddy went to work. She nursed. She midwifed. She became indispensable in a small, growing Los Angeles, often working with local physicians. She saved every dollar. She gave generously to people in need, and she helped birth institutions, co-founding the first African Methodist Episcopal Church of Los Angeles in 1872, the city's first black church. Then came the move that changed her family forever. In 1866, Biddy purchased land on Spring Street for around $250. She didn't flip it for quick cash. She held it. She improved it. She collected rent. As Los Angeles boomed, that modest parcel multiplied in value. Over time, she acquired multiple lots, creating a base of income and dignity for her children and grandchildren. By the time of her passing on January 15, 1891, Biddy Mason had turned skilled labor into real estate, and real estate into community power. Her estate was widely reported to be worth many tens of thousands of dollars, well over $1 million in today's money. But her true legacy was structure, property title, income diversified, a church anchored, and a family network trained to think in assets. She was known to say, if you hold your hand closed, nothing good can come in. Biddy gave, but she also held. She understood a timeless lesson. Cash feeds today, land feeds generations. So what happened after she died? The short answer?
Yeah, man, do your homework on Biddy Mason, man. Phenomenal woman, man. A foundational Black American. Stand up. Hey, man, ain't nobody gonna tell our history like we do, like we would. So this is why I'm bringing this history to you guys, so you guys know everything that we did in the city of Los Angeles, because you got a lot of people who say things like, how you claim to be from California, but then again, they're not going to tell the truth about what we did. They'll lie about it. You know, I had some Latino cat trying to tell me blacks only came to California in the 50s. Just ignorant when it comes to history. Don't know nothing. But what do you what do you expect from a Spanish conquistador? He's not going to tell the truth about history. He's going to lie just like his forefathers. So it's up to us as foundational Black Americans to set the record straight when it comes to history. Rest in peace to Biddy Mason. Yeah.
She died. The short answer, the land kept moving, and so did Los Angeles. Her holdings passed primarily to her daughters and into the extended Owens family through marriage. In the 1890s and early 1900s, downtown swelled. Spring Street transformed into the city's financial artery. Parcels were improved, consolidated, sold, or redeveloped, sometimes by the family, sometimes by new investors as values skyrocketed. This is the pattern across American cities. When an early parcel sits where finance and speculation later collide, pressure mounts. Family members age, taxes rise, developers knock. Sometimes there are partition actions or probate complications. Sometimes the family cashes out by choice. Over decades, portions of Biddy's properties left the family's hands as downtown densified. Buildings went up, buildings got remodeled.
Hit that like button, man. This is real Los Angeles history, man.
Eventually, many were demolished. By the late 20th century, her original homestead site was no longer a home at all. But the city remembered. In the early 1990s, artists and civic leaders dedicated Biddy Mason Park along Spring Street, an outdoor timeline engraved with her life in the very ground she once secured. The land changed owners. The story remained. And what does that story teach us? Biddy Mason's genius was not an accident. It was a framework. 1. Build skills the market needs. 2. Convert earned income into appreciating assets. 3. Title property cleanly and plan for heirs. 4. Anchor community institutions that outlast you. And 5. Remember this: generosity and discipline can live in the same house. Her parcels moved, her city transformed, but her blueprint still stands. If Biddy Mason could buy Spring Street with $250 in vision, what can we do together if we treat our paychecks like seed and our neighborhoods like fertile ground? This is Black Dollar and Culture, sharing real history, real strategy, and real ownership.
No, that's real right there, man. I wanted to say shout out to Black Dollar and Culture, man. He got 22,000 subscribers. Shout out to Black Dollar and Culture. You know what I mean? That's real right there, man. That's real. Oh yeah. Shout out to my people, you know.
Entertainment center of town.
Now I want to show you guys Central Avenue, how a lot of our musicians would perform on Central Avenue, and Central Avenue was the West Coast Harlem. It was the West Coast Harlem. Now you cruise down Central Avenue now, it looks like Mexico. But anyway, we're gonna get into that in a minute. We're gonna give you some of this history. How Central Avenue was LA's jazz capital. It was LA jazz capital, man. It was. That's where the brothers would come in their zoot suits and they would perform, the jazz musicians, Central Avenue. I'm gonna let y'all check out some of this history.
I don't need to tell you that Los Angeles is not a real city. It's just a whole bunch of neighborhoods sharing the same name. One of our neighborhoods was called Central Avenue. And I know the avenue is still there, but what's central is missing. People stayed up late, but they also got up early because their community was the entertainment center of town. Certainly thriving, if not prosperous.
Yeah, thriving. I got to stop it because, you know, they playing music. So, you know, I might have to stop it and give commentary so I can avoid the copyright.
Everybody knew everybody else.
Yeah, man, this is Central Avenue, man. Central Avenue looks like Mexico now. I ain't gonna lie to you.
That was the place to go
Right, Central Avenue now looks horrible.
to see your friends. But you walked up and down Central to see your friends and to see what other people were doing. And you wanted to be with them. And you wanted to celebrate with them. And there they were.
It was like the people from the Avenue had their own world going. It was wonderful. Nobody seemed to mention it much outside of the area. And now it was probably better than we all knew.
Down in the middle of the block was the Club Alabama. Had Johnny Otis's big band in there with a stage show, chorus girls and everything. T-Bone Walker, blues singer, as the star. Across the street was The Last Word. I think you got the pictures of it with jam sessions going on. All the jam.
No, when Mexicans say they were always there, they were not there. Back in those days, Mexicans were not on Central Avenue. They were not in these thriving black communities. They were not there. Even in Venice, if you go to Venice, California in the early 1900s, it was a thriving black community there. There were no Latinos over there. They were not there. They're lying to you. The Mexican population got big in California because of illegal immigration. Prior to illegal immigration, their population was very small. That's just the honest to God truth. Illegal immigration and illegals dumping anchor babies, that is how the Mexican Latino population grew. Prior to that going on, their population was small. You didn't even see Mexicans and Latinos in black communities back then. They wasn't there, man. They were not there. Black people in the 70s and the 60s did not live around Mexicans. They did not. You didn't see none of these illegals in these thriving black communities back then. in the 80s and the 90s, that's when you began to see a large influx of illegal immigrants crossing the border for the sole purpose of dumping anchor babies to get birthright citizenship.
Jam sessions at the time were bebop oriented. And what made bebop so important, they would have after hours jam sessions. When you leave the Downbeat or the Alabama, one of them clubs there, you could go down to Jack's Basket Room on 33rd and Central, where you'd have Dexter Gordon, Miles Davis, Wardell Gray, all these people that would be down there, everybody would be jamming.
Central was the place that we went to take care of business. We could shop, we could get hardware, newspapers were put out on Central. Central was almost like the main street in a small village. You could do anything there. During the time when Joe Louis was in his heyday, when he would have a fight, Central was quiet as you couldn't find anybody. Everybody was in their house listening to the fight.
Right and left to the head, a left to the jaw, a right to the head, and Donovan is watching carefully. Lewis measures him, right to the body, a left hook to the jaw, and Schmeling is down.
And whenever he would win, Central came alive. People would rush, walk, drive, get to Central to talk about, to celebrate, and drive up and down Central, blowing horns and yelling at each other. Oh, he won, and oh, wow. That was a big deal.
So there you have it. Some things on Central Avenue are gone, but the music and the memories live on.
So that's what it is, man. You know, I have no reason to make this up. I'm just being honest with you. You know, you got it. I want you to see this too, man. You got hit the like button if you haven't already. The game is so heavy, baby. Check this out. Make sure that you guys bless the like button. I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. Yeah, man. A lot of people don't know the role that Black people played in Los Angeles. So let's get back to this. Bless the like button, family. I know you heard it. You heard me. Getting down and dirty. Getting down and dirty.
You may have passed this volcanic peak in the Santa Monica Mountains in Agoura without taking a second look. But next time, perhaps you'll want to share the story behind it. The story of John Ballard, the former slave and first African-American man to settle in the hills above Malibu.
They made a life for themselves in a really inhospitable climate.
Ballard's story is one of perseverance, endurance, and character. Born into slavery in the 1830s, he made his way to California, finding success and wealth early on. He helped start the first African Methodist Episcopal Church in Los Angeles, which still stands today. However, he lost everything in the Great Depression and moved to the Santa Monica Mountains to start over. And though California was a free state by then, slavery still existed. Racism, a daily obstacle.
His house was burned down at least twice by folks who were hoping that he would go elsewhere.
That mountain where Ballard settled was dubbed Negro Head Mountain, and the more offensive slur, for years. It was even listed that way in official county records until family members reached out to former LA County Board of Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky. and the effort to change the mountain's name was born. In 2010, Negro Head Mountain became Ballard Mountain, honoring the pioneer. And these are all his descendants coming together to mark Black History Month and remember the man who started it all.
That mountain represents a man who considered himself an American when others called him something else.
Hit the like button. Let know. Check this out. Now I got some more stuff that I want to show you guys, and we ain't finished. We just getting started.
Savvy civilization was history of the California blacks. The mighty California blacks were a powerful military, savvy civilization with shipbuilders, priests, scientists, traders, and empire builders. These elite seafarers traveled all over, trading in gold-tipped spears and precious stones. Masters of commerce, this highly sophisticated society practiced as part of their religious ceremonies astronomy, tracking celestial Sirius star systems, scared science, geometry, and mathematics. They were nautical wizards of longitude, latitude, master builders of complex housing, political systems, and captains of the open seas, as well as arts and music enthusiasts. They were also worshippers of the Egyptian gods Horus, Osiris, Isis, and Wajib, sun god, Ra, and the universality of the concept of Maat, M-A-A-T.
See, these are the Khalifians, man. The Khalifians, right? This is what it is.
Or Maat, and how ethical behavior was the norm. The goddess M-A-A-T, Maat, represent truth, justice, righteousness, and world order, the supreme ethical paradigm that dictated the behavior of the California blacks and the civilization of ancient America. The California blacks, XI, empire was ruled by a succession of queens, as was the custom in many ancient African nations. This unfamiliar practice observed by the naive Spaniards is surely how the myth of the nymph, Amazon queen legend, who hated and killed all baby boys and men, came into existence. Their matriarch societies were based on maternal values.
All right, so you heard that, right? It is what it is. Show some love to the show, you know?
80s, when Los Angeles experienced this.
Now, this is a white man right here. He's going to break down the hidden history of the black founders, how they erased the fact that a lot of black people had a lot to do with building the city of Los Angeles. We're going to get into some of this history. Support the show. Make sure that you guys support the Super Chat, the Cash App. Let's get the support up because, hey, man, I'm giving you this history because I want people to understand what it really is. You can't expect for a European or Spanish conquistador to be honest about black history. It's going to take us to give you guys these stories, people who stand on business, giving you the facts about history. Yeah.
On this day, September 4th, 1781, the city of Los Angeles was founded. But what if I told you the city of Hollywood dreams and endless freeways was actually founded by black families? And what if I told you this incredible piece of history was deliberately erased and hidden for over a century? I'm not talking about some minor historical footnote. I'm talking about the majority of the founding families. More than half of the 44 people who established Los Angeles in 1781 were black or African descent. And here's the really shocking part. This erasure was so complete that today most people living in LA have no idea who actually built their city. We're talking about one of the most successful cover-ups in American history. Today we're going to go full detective and cover how an entire city's origin story got rewritten and why the truth is finally coming to light. Picture this. It's September 4th, 1781. The sun is beating down on a group of 44 settlers trudging through what is now Southern California. They're carrying everything they own, tools, seeds, livestock, and dreams of a new life. These pioneers are about to establish El Puerto de Nuestra Señora La Reina de Los Angeles. I hope I got that right. The town of Our Lady, the Queen of the Angels. In a few centuries, this tiny settlement will become the sprawling metropolis known as Los Angeles. But here's where your history textbook probably never told you. When Spanish officials recorded the racial composition of these founding families, the documents tell an incredible story. According to the official colonial census, 26 of the 44 founders were listed as Negro, mulatto, or mestizo, or of mixed African heritage. That's not a typo. That's not a historical anomaly. More than half of the people who founded what would become America's second largest city were black. So how did this story disappear so completely that even most people from Los Angeles today have never heard of it? To understand how Los Angeles really came to be,
because you can't expect Latinos to be honest about history. You know, these people think they have the same mindset as the Spanish conquistadors, so they're not going to be honest about history. This is a white man. Now, I could have showed you black people telling this story, but I said, I'm going to let a white man tell you this story because Mexicans tend to believe everything that white people say. So I'm going to let a white man tell this story, even though I can give you examples or videos of black people saying the same exact thing and giving you historical facts, bringing you receipts.
we need to go back to the Spain's colonial strategy in the 1700s. The Spanish Empire controlled vast territories across the Americas, but California, it was a problem child. It was expensive to maintain, difficult to defend, and it was sparsely populated. Russian fur traders were creeping down from Alaska, and the British were eyeing the Pacific coast. Spain needed settlers, and they needed them fast. But here's where the Spanish policy gets really interesting. Unlike other European powers who primarily recruited white settlers, the Spanish had developed a complex understanding of who actually succeeded on their frontier. Spanish administrators noticed that the people of African and mixed heritage were often more successful at frontier life. They were experienced with diverse climates, skilled at agriculture, and they had the survival skills that they developed over many generations. In Spanish colonial thinking, they were the ideal colonists. So when Felipe de Neve, the Spanish governor of California, put together the Los Angeles expedition, his recruiters specifically sought out these families. They offered incredible incentives, everything from free land, livestock, farming tools, and a guaranteed salary for a couple of years. The expedition...
Shout out to Afro Nat for the Cash App. Afro Nat, I appreciate you for the love and support on the Cash App. Shout out to Cheesehead Ali for the love and support on the Cash App. Yeah, man. Sonny tried to say that Mexicans had something to do with civil rights. Mexicans fought to be legally white, man. Latinos fought for white proximity. Latinos ain't never fought for the benefit of all minorities and people of color. They never did that. When they called themselves fighting for civil rights, they were fighting for white proximity. They were fighting for white acceptance. Foundational Black Americans, when we fought for civil rights, it was to benefit all minorities and people of color. So we wasn't just fighting for ourselves. We were fighting for all minorities and people of color. The civil rights movement, we made it much bigger than ourselves, when in reality, we should have just fought for ourselves, because you see how these people truly feel about you. They lie about history and try to make it seem like they did something that they had nothing to do with it. Latinos fought to be legally white. They fought for white proximity. They never fought to get civil rights for all minorities and people of color. Latinos, they never did that. Latinos only fought for themselves. They fought for white proximity. They fought for white acceptance. Foundational Black Americans made it to where all people of color and minorities have the civil rights that they have today. We did that as FBA, or melanated people, or whatever you want to call yourself. Black, Aboriginal, FBA. Hey, homeboy, we're the ones that fought for the civil rights that everybody enjoys today. We're responsible for that, not no Latinos.
Wasn't random. The Los Angeles expedition. His recruiters specifically sought out these families. They offered incredible incentives, everything from free land, livestock, farming tools, and a guaranteed salary for a couple of years. The expedition wasn't random. It was very carefully planned. Each family was chosen for specific skills. There were farmers, blacksmiths, soldiers, and craftsmen, and the majority happened to be of African descent. Now, let me introduce you to some of these founding families. There was Jose Vangelis, listed as Indian, who brought crucial knowledge of local agriculture. Maria Antonio Campos, described as mulatto, whose family would become major landowners. The Merino family, and yes, Merino literally means dark-skinned in Spanish. And then there's the Pico family. Antonio Franco Pico was listed as mulatto in the original records. His descendants would become some of the most powerful people in California history. The settlement they established wasn't some struggling outpost. It was remarkably successful right from the start. These families knew what they were doing. Within a few years, they had established thriving farms, built a church.
Yeah, Aboriginal descent, but you know, they labeled everything Negro and African. That's how white folks reclassify things, but we know what it is. Even when they said mulatto, a lot of those people were black Aboriginals. These were Aboriginal people, right? You know, people of the land. Like I told Sonny, I said, not all these native tribes look the same. Sonny tried to say the natives was all the same people. You're too damn old to be ignorant like that, bro. You a fool if you believe that all native people had the same phenotypes. They didn't all look the same. You had different native tribes spread all across the U.S. Not all of them look the same. If you go to Africa, not all Africans look the same. Not all Africans share the same culture and language. It was the same thing with the natives. They're not all the same. But of course, Mexicans want to convince you that all native people somehow were just one people and they all look the same. That is a bold-faced lie. See, that's what happens when you get brainwashed by Spanish conquistadors. You begin to spread their lies. But let's take it a step further. You even had Spanish conquistadors that told you they seen black people once they came to the Americas. You got Spanish conquistadors who kept it a stack and said, "No, we actually seen black people once we came to the Americas. We seen them."
And created a functioning local government. The black and mixed race families weren't marginalized. They were the community leaders. Take Pio Pico, grandson of the original founder, Antonio Pico.
I went to Pio Pico Middle School, and that's on Arlington and Pico. Pio Pico was a black man. He was considered an Afro-Latino when really he was just an Aboriginal who happened to be a melanated black man. But Pio Pico, there's a school. I went to Mount Vernon Middle School and Pio Pico. Pico Boulevard is named after Pio Pico, for sure.
The last Mexican governor of California were the community leaders. Take Pio Pico, grandson of the original founder, Antonio Pico. He became the last Mexican governor of California, one of the wealthiest men on the West Coast, and owner of vast cattle ranches. When Americans talk about the Spanish dons of old California, they're often actually referring about families from African descent. The Reyes family, also of African heritage, became major landowners in what is now Westwood and Bel Air. Some of LA's most expensive real estate today sits on a land that was originally granted to black founding families. This success continued for decades, though through Mexican independence in 1821 and well into the American period after 1848, these families maintained their prominence. They intermarried with other elite families, served in government, and shaped the region's development.
See, I went to Pio Pico in the 90s, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm an 80s baby. I'm in my 40s now. You know what I'm saying? So being in my 40s, I went to Pio Pico in the 90s, man. Yeah, that's a fact. I went to Mount Vernon first, and then when I left Mount Vernon, I went to Pio Pico because the first Pio Pico was just an elementary. But then they expanded it and they made a junior high / elementary. Yeah, man. But I went to Pio Pico and Arlington for sure. And then you go to Pico and 3rd Avenue, the Pico Fish Market. How many guys know about that? The fish market on Pico and 3rd Avenue? Fire. They had another fish market on Pico and Norton. Norton is like right before you get to Crenshaw on Pico. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, we used to go to the fish market. Then you had Wilton Place, the market on, if you go down Pico, you go to Wilton, they had the little the meat where they used to cook the food for you at the Wilton market right there. Fire. Food was great. Fire. Yeah, man.
So what changed? How did the story of black founding families get completely lost? The answer lies in the 1880s, when Los Angeles experienced its first major population boom. The Transcontinental Railroad reached Los Angeles in 1876, and suddenly thousands of white settlers were pouring in from the Midwest and East Coast. Real estate developers saw an unprecedented opportunity. But selling California to white settlers required the right narrative. Developers weren't just selling land, they were selling a lifestyle, a dream.
Yeah, man. And the homie Bloodhound used to stay on 3rd Avenue, right in the alley. You know, you look up Bloodhound, he's all over social media. Bloodhound. You know what I'm saying? He lived right in the alley on 3rd right there, you know. A few of the Harpies used to stay on 3rd Avenue too. You know, we was cool with the Harpies who stayed on 3rd Avenue. We was cool with them, you know, so we knew a lot of the Harpies that was over there. But yeah, man, 3rd Avenue and Pico, man, that fish was fire. You know what I mean? The homie Pee Wee stayed on 4th Avenue right there. In between Venice and Pico right there, he stayed on 4th. So yeah, man, there's a lot of history in this community, man. And then you had the Bronson Avenue hustlers. You know, Pico and Bronson, you had the Bronson Avenue cats. They was hustlers. Some of them was in, you know, doing their thing. But yeah, man, but that's some of the history of the city right there, man. But yeah, bring back a lot. Hey, man, this brings back a lot of memories. You know, I'm talking about the 90s, the early 2000s.
Identity. And that dream needed the right kind of history. Enter the romantic myth of old California.
You know, Pee Wee brother, he got 2 brothers, Bushwick and Daddy-O was his brothers. I used to hang out with Pee Wee, Bushwick, and Daddy-O. They was brothers. You know what I'm saying? And then on 15th and 3rd Avenue, it was a kicking spot. Toby used to be right there. And we used to kick it right there on 3rd Avenue and 15th Street, man, the little kicking spot. You know what I'm saying? Bloodhound stayed right there, right before you get to Pico on 3rd Avenue, right there in that alley. You know?
A fantasy of noble Spanish dons, beautiful senoritas, and pastoral ranchos. This wasn't just marketing. It was historical revisionism on an industrial scale. Tourism boards hired writers to create romanticized histories. Publishers produced guidebooks that emphasized Spanish colonial grandeur while quietly omitting any mention of African heritage among the founding families. The process was systematic and deliberate. City boosters, historians, and civic leaders made conscious choices about which version of history to promote. The Spanish colonial fantasy sold real estate.
Shout out to Shag, yep. I know Shag, you know. Then you had Lil Shag, like, I think Lil Shag was mixed with Mexican or something like that. But yeah, shout out to Shag though. You know, I used to kick it with Chaos, Shag, Romeo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's hey man, that's what's up, man. You know?
The multiracial reality, it didn't. But the erasure went deeper than
yeah, Bloodhound got deported because you got to think Bloodhound's father was white. You know, it tripped me out. His daddy was like from Sweden or something, but his mother was like Jamaican and Belizean. So yeah, Bloodhound got deported some years back, man, and they sent them back to one of them countries. I believe it was Sweden or one of those. But his dad was a white man. That's a fact. It was crazy. It tripped me out. But Bloodhound used to drink those Red Stripe beers. You know, that Jamaican beer with the red stripe. But yeah, his mom was like Belizean and Jamaican. So he had kind of like that Caribbean stuff going on and stuff. But yeah, man, we always looked at Bloodhound like it was black. But yeah, he had a white daddy. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. But shout out to Bloodhound. But yeah, he did get deported because you got to think Bloodhound was in the army. Now, Bloodhound was in the army for a while, right? So he was born over there, but he was brought to LA as a kid. But what a lot of people don't know, that Bloodhound was in the army, he was in the military. But for some reason, he still got deported. You know what I mean? And yeah, that's my boy right there, man. I remember Bloodhound had the gray Cadillac on switches. Yeah.
Deeper than just the marketing materials. School textbooks began teaching the romanticized version. Official city histories adapted the whitewashed narrative. Even academic historians started repeating the myth without checking the original sources. The most insidious part? Even some descendants of the original families began denying their African heritage. In an increasingly segregated society, being Spanish opened more doors than being black or mixed race. Families quietly changed their stories to fit the acceptable narrative. By the early 19th
See, these Spanish conquistadors and the Europeans wanted to lie about the history.
Historians started repeating the myth without historians and historical revisionism on an industrial scale. Tourism boards hired writers to create romanticized histories. Publishers produced guidebooks that emphasized Spanish colonial grandeur while quietly omitting any mention of African heritage among the founding families. The process was systematic and deliberate. City boosters, historians, and civic leaders made conscious choices about which version of history to promote. The Spanish colonial fantasy sold real estate. The multiracial reality, it didn't. But the erasure went deeper than just the marketing materials. School textbooks began teaching the romanticized version. Official city histories adapted the whitewashed narrative. Even academic historians started repeating the myth without checking the original sources. The most insidious part? Even some descendants of the original families began denying their African heritage. In an increasingly segregated society, being Spanish opened more doors than being black or mixed race. Families quietly changed their stories to fit the acceptable narrative. By the early 1900s, the transformation was complete. Los Angeles had successfully rebranded its original story from a diverse frontier settlement to a romantic Spanish colonial fantasy. What makes this erasure even more shocking is how thorough it became. We're not talking about a few missing details. We're talking entire family histories were rewritten. And ironically, Hollywood, founded in a city established by black families, began producing movies that reinforced the Spanish Dawn mythology.
I told you the Spanish conquistadors are liars. Listen, man. This white man is telling the truth. Listen, I could have gave you several stories with a black man saying this, but they would have been like, oh, no, he's just saying that because he's black. No, you got white people who are honest about the history, and they will tell you a lot of your founders of Los Angeles were black folks. This is a fact. Shout out to Desmond Hill for blessing us with a Cash App. Appreciate you, Desmond. Shout out to my dog Scoop for blessing us with a Cash App as well. I'm giving you this real Los Angeles history, family.
Films like Ramona and countless Westerns depicted California's past as an exclusively white and Hispanic story. Even the academic institutions joined the cover-up. UCLA, USC, and other universities built their California history programs around the romanticized narrative. Professors might have questioned the story, simply accepted the existing accounts without examining primary sources. The California Historical Society, museums, cultural institutions, they all adopted the whitewashed version. Exhibits, monuments, and official commemorations consistently ignored the African heritage of the founding families. Perhaps most tragically, this erasure robbed generations of black Californians of their rightful place in the state's founding narrative. While the country debated civil rights and equality, one of the most powerful examples of black achievement in the American West remained hidden. The irony is stunning. During the very decades when black Americans were fighting for recognition and equality, the story of black founding families in America's second largest city remained buried in the archives. So the truth might have stayed hidden forever if it were not for the social upheavals of the 1960s.
Oh, they hate me right now. They already hate me right now. You know, a lot of the founders of Los Angeles were black, but you can't expect for a Mexican to tell you that unless he's being honest about history, unless he knows the truth, because most of them have been lied about. They've been lied to about the real history. So they run with the false narrative. They run with that version of, they run with the whitewashed version of history. That's what, unfortunately, that's what most of them do. But I'm bringing the truth to you. You know, so when Latinos tell you they fought for civil rights, Latinos never fought for the civil rights of all minorities and people of color. Latinos fought for white proximity. They fought for white acceptance. Because let's take it a step further. Latinos fought to be legally white. So they didn't fight for people of color to have civil rights. They fought for white acceptance. If you don't believe me, I spoke on this yesterday in my podcast. Mexicans and Latinos fought to be legally white because they were fighting for white acceptance. They wanted white proximity. This is the reality. I'm not making up this story. You don't believe me? Study the history for yourself. Look up Mexicans fought to be legally white and look at Latinos all across Latin America identify with being white. Why? Because they wanted white proximity. They felt like they would be more successful connecting themselves to whiteness. And that became their mentality. Study history. You ain't got to take my word for it. Latinos ain't never fought for the civil rights of people of color, all minorities. Latinos was only thinking about themselves. They was thinking like, how can we get white proximity? How can we be embraced by white folks to have a better life? That was their purpose of fighting for civil rights, not to eliminate white supremacy. They fought to be a part of it.
The civil rights movement didn't just challenge contemporary racism, it forced Americans to re-examine their history. Dr. Jack Forbes, a Native American historian at UC Davis, was researching indigenous populations in colonial California when he stumbled across something extraordinary in the Spanish archives. The original settlement records for Los Angeles told a completely different story than what he'd learned in school. Forbes wasn't looking for African-American history. He was studying Native populations. But the Spanish colonial records were so detailed and explicit about racial categories that he couldn't ignore what he was seeing. The Spanish, they kept meticulous records. They didn't just list, they recorded detailed information about racial background, family relationships, social status, and economic activities. Every founding family's heritage was documented with bureaucratic precision. Forbes began cross-referencing these records with other documents, the birth certificates, marriage records, land grants, and census data. The pattern was undeniable and consistent across multiple sources. Other historians joined the investigation. Dr. William Mason at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County, he began his own research. Miriam Matthews, one of the first Black librarians in Los Angeles, started connecting.
Shout out to the Daily Podcast. I think he did a good job at breaking down a lot of this history. You know?
The dots between archival records and family oral histories. What they found was explosive. Not just the racial composition of the founding families, but evidence of a systematic cover-up that hid this history for nearly a decade. Or not a decade, a whole century. By the 1970s, the evidence was overwhelming. Multiple independent researchers had reached the same conclusion using different sources and methodologies. The founding of Los Angeles was primarily the achievement of Black and mixed-race families. But even with solid evidence, challenging a century of accepted history wasn't easy.
Right. Even with solid evidence, see, they believed in the lie so long, even when you bring on the facts, they say, oh, no, that's not true. Because they believe in a whitewashed version of history.
Academic institutions that had built their reputations on the Spanish colonial narrative were reluctant to acknowledge their errors. Tourism boards and city officials worried about how this revelation might affect Los Angeles' carefully cultivated image. Some descendants of the original families had mixed reactions. Pride in their heritage conflicted with generations of social conditioning.
Shout out to Calvin, man. I appreciate you, Calvin, for showing up and blessing the Cash App. Shout out to my brothers, man. You guys really showed up to support this show today, man. Giving you this real history of Los Angeles, the contributions of Black people. That's what we spoke on today about Los Angeles history. And I appreciate everybody for pulling up and supporting this podcast, man, because it's very important that we get this true history out there, man.
Gradually, though, the truth began to surface in academic circles, and then the community organizations, and then finally the mainstream media. But the process was slow and often met with skepticism. Today, there are modest...
Right. The LULAC organization fought for white proximity. They did. John J. Herrera, he was one of the leaders of the LULAC organization. He said that the Mexicans belong to the Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. He fought to be legally white. One of the founders, one of the head members, I don't know if he's one of the founders, but I know that John J. Herrera was one of the head members of the LULAC organization. He said that we don't want nothing to do with black people. Black people got their own struggles. Let them fight their own battles. And guess what? We never depended on Latinos to help us with our battles. We've never depended on them, right? So John J. Herrera and the LULAC organization fought for white proximity. They fought for white acceptance. He said Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. I'm not lying. I've showed you guys the evidence several times of what the LULAC organization leaders did. They had an anti-black mindset, and they said, we're going to do this for Mexicans. We want Mexicans to be accepted in white society, and we want nothing to do with Negroes. That's exactly what the LULAC organization said, and I've showed the evidence several times. You don't believe me? Study the history of the LULAC organization, and you will see that they fought to be legally white. They fought for white acceptance. They didn't fight to get better rights and better opportunities for minorities and people of color. They fought for white acceptance, man.
Acknowledgements of this history. A small plaque down mentions the diverse origins of the founders. Some schools now teach about the real demographic makeup of early Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Public Library has exhibits on the founding families. But these recognitions feel almost inadequate compared to the scale of the erasure. For almost a century, millions of people learned a false version of their city's history. The story of Los Angeles' founding is really about the power of narrative to shape reality. For more than 100 years,
Felix Tejera, that's another one. What's his name? Felix Tejera. Shout out to Abdallah for bringing him up. Shout out to Royalty. My man Royalty has slid through to bless us with another Cash App as well. I appreciate you. All of those LULAC leaders were fighting for white acceptance. They fought. Mexicans fought to be legally white. I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. I'm saying this because it's true.
a carefully constructed myth replaced documented historical fact. This matters because history isn't just about the past. It shapes how we see ourselves and imagine the future. When we erase the contributions of black families to the founding of other major American cities, we're not just challenging.
So basically, he broke down a lot of lines, and I could have showed you videos of other white men saying this and a few Latinos that were honest about this. And of course, a lot of black men. But if I showed you the videos of a black man saying this, they would say, see, you black folks are always saying you did this. No, the reality of it is we did it. Black people had a lot to do with founding the city of Los Angeles. This is a fact. When I said Mexicans fought to be legally white, that is a fact. I'm not making it up. They fought for white acceptance. This is true. You ain't got to take my word for it. Look it up yourself. And you're going to be like, man, Red was telling the truth. They did fight for white acceptance. Man, I wouldn't make that up. I have no reason to lie on these people. I'm being honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you guys bless the like button, man, and share this content, man, because we broke down a lot of history of black folks in Los Angeles and our contributions to the city, and how a lot of our communities were, destroyed. Redlining, dumping millions of immigrants in our community, and the list goes on.
Yesterday's story. We're limiting how people understand their place in today's world. The families who founded Los Angeles succeeded because they brought the skills, determination, and vision to an untamed frontier. Their story isn't one of triumph, achievement, and community. Actually, their story is one of achievement, triumph, and community building, exactly the kind of history that should inspire rather than be hidden.
All right, well, this is what we're going to do, family. I'll be back with a part 2, Los Angeles Black History part 2. We got a part 2, and once when we do the part 2, man, I'm gonna drop the link and I'm gonna bring some of you guys up to speak. So on part 2, we're gonna take some calls. We're gonna drop that link. We're gonna bring some of you people up to speak, and it's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be beautiful. Shout out to Royalty and everybody who blessed this show through Cash App or whether you blessed it through Super Chat. I appreciate you all. I truly do. Hey, man, I told you I'm gonna bring you this hard-hitting content. I'm gonna protect our history. I'm gonna stand on the FBA business, and listen, homie. It's my job to expose the truth. Latinos did not fight for the civil rights of people of color. They fought to be legally white. They fought for the acceptance of white people. I'm not making this up. I'm not talking crazy about it. I'm being honest about the history. When foundational Black Americans fought for civil rights, we fought for all people of color to be treated fairly in this country. We didn't just fight for ourselves. Latinos were only fighting for themselves and themselves only. That's the difference. Latinos have never fought for laws that benefit Black Americans or people of color. They only fought for themselves. The Asians, when the Asians got that hate crime bill, they never fought for anything that benefit all minorities. The Asians fought for something to benefit themselves. Foundational Black Americans, we're the only group of people that fight for laws that benefit all minorities and other groups of people. Every other group only fight for themselves and nobody else. Well, it's time for foundational Black Americans to fight for ourselves and ourselves only. Everybody else got to pick themselves up by the bootstrap. We got to stop allowing people to latch on to our legacy just for them to hate on us later, just for them to spew the same talking points as white supremacists. We can't go for that no more, family. We got to fight for FBA and FBA only. Black Aboriginal, FBA, melanated people, or whatever you want to call yourself. We got to fight for ourselves. We got to stop including other people who don't like us. History proves that they don't like us. What more do you need to see? You know? Peace to everybody. I appreciate everybody for pulling up and supporting today's platform. Yeah, man, we got to stand up and fight for ourselves and nobody else. We got to stop letting other groups benefit from our struggle. The rainbow community has taken on our struggle for their own benefit. The Latinos have taken on our struggle for their own benefit. Everybody want to latch on to hip hop for their own benefit. The buck stops here. We got to put a stop to that. We got to stop allowing people to leech off of everything that we fought for their own benefit. We got to stop that. Man, you know I was going to come with the receipts. I was going to come with the receipts. You know, it's bigger than talking. We're going to fight for, listen, man, we're going to fight for ourselves and ourselves only. Hey, man, I'm telling you, it's true. If you look at what we fought for as foundational Black Americans, we fought for all minorities and people of color. Mexicans and Latinos only fought for themselves. They fought for white proximity. They fought for white acceptance. They didn't have other groups in their mind. They were just looking out for themselves. Just like when the Asians got that hate crime bill, they was only looking out for themselves. Well, it's time for foundational Black Americans to look out for ourselves. It is time for us to gatekeep our culture. Stop spending money with foreigners in your community. Spend that money with your people. Let's encourage Black people to start businesses, and we spend our money with them, not with foreigners who are looking to extract money and resources from our community. We got to put a stop to that today. Yeah. Peace to everybody. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. I love you all. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And oh, yeah, share this show right here, man, because this show right here was very powerful. This show was very powerful, man. We hit on a lot of topics. We spoke on the history of Los Angeles. We broke down a lot of things that were very important that they try to hide in the history books, man. So peace, love, and blessings, giving you game to keep you from stressing. It's your player partner, King Supreme. Make sure that you like this stream in a major way. I'm gone. I'll be back with some more content later on with a part 2, and I will drop the link and bring some of you guys up to speed. Peace.